digital photo frames and AI photo videos. A match made in heaven. By Oliver Bennett and Sophia Rivera.
Hola everyone! I'm absolutely thrilled to dive into this conversation today because we're talking about something that sits right at the intersection of technology and emotion, two things I'm deeply passionate about. You know, I grew up in Barcelona, surrounded by my abuela's photo albums. These thick, leather-bound books filled with fading photographs that told our family's story. Fast forward to today, and we're living in a world where AI can transform a single photograph into a moving, breathing memory. It's extraordinary, really. Here at PhotoDeo, we've been exploring how AI-generated photo videos can come to life in people's homes through digital frames. Oliver, let me start with something that's been on my mind. When we look at the evolution of how humans display memories, from painted portraits to printed photographs to digital screens, what is it about this particular moment in technology that makes the marriage between AI photo videos and digital frames feel so inevitable?
Sophia, that's a delightful question. When you think about it, the journey from static images to dynamic AI-generated videos is quite the leap, isn't it? It's not just about the technology catching up to our dreams, it's about our understanding of memories evolving too. According to Grand View Research, the digital photo frames market is growing rapidly, driven by innovations like AI that breathe new life into how we experience memories. It's as if we've finally found a medium that can match the depth of what we feel when we look back at our past. What's changed, you ask? Well, it's a combination of technological advancements and our readiness for a more immersive memory experience. Modern digital frames have become so sophisticated that they're no longer just display devices. They are storytellers in their own right. With features like video playback and interactive touch bars, they transform a simple living room into a gallery of moving art. And speaking of art, I'm curious, Sophia, how do you see this evolution blending with cultural storytelling across different communities? You're going to think I'm crazy, but I sometimes imagine these frames as modern-day portals, not just showing us where we've been, but hinting at where we're going. It's fascinating to think about how something as simple as a digital frame can revolutionize our relationship with the past, isn't it?
Oliver, look at you turning the tables on me. I love it when you get a bit cheeky. You know what? This question hits right at the heart of why I'm so passionate about what we do. Cultural storytelling through photographs, it's completely different depending on where you are in the world, and the research backs this up beautifully. There was a fascinating study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology that compared how American and Chinese students compose and focus on photographs differently. Americans tend to zoom in on individuals. It's all about the person, the face, that singular moment. But Chinese students? They capture more of the environment, the context, the story around the person. It reflects this beautiful cultural difference between individualism and collectivism. And this matters so much for what we're doing with PhotoDeo. Because when AI brings a photograph to life, when it adds that subtle movement, that breath of animation, it's not just making the person move, it's activating the entire scene. The background comes alive, the context breathes. Suddenly, that collectivist way of seeing memory becomes more accessible to everyone. I think about my own family in Barcelona versus my friends here in London. In Spain, we display photographs everywhere. It's like our walls are archives of emotion. Every surface tells a story. But I've noticed British homes can be more reserved, more curated. No offense to your countrymen, darling. And according to research from Science Direct on photographs as mementos and identity markers, these displays aren't just decoration. They're how we express our identity and preserve our personal history. So when you ask how this evolution blends with cultural storytelling, I think it democratizes it, Oliver. A PhotoDeo video playing on a digital frame can honor both the individualist focus on the person and the collectivist appreciation for context. The AI captures the emotional essence, while the frame technology makes it feel like art, not just technology. And your portal metaphor? Not crazy at all. That's exactly what they are. They're bridges between generations, between cultures, between the past and the present. You know what else I love? Research shows that displaying photographs of loved ones can actually uplift mood and reduce stress. So these aren't just pretty objects, they're emotional wellness tools. But here's what really gets me excited. We're just at the beginning. Imagine when technology gets even more sophisticated, when the AI can understand cultural context better, when it can animate a photograph in a way that honors whether that memory is about the individual or the community. That's the future I'm working toward, Oliver. Not just technology for technology's sake, but technology that understands the soul of how different cultures remember and celebrate their stories.
Part 1. The evolution of digital photo frames.
Well, Sophia, isn't it fascinating to consider how digital photo frames have evolved from their rather humble beginnings? Back in the late 1990s, they were quite the novelty. Simple devices allowing us to display digital photos without the need for a computer or printer. A bit like a technological leap from our ancestors' photo albums to a digital era. According to Wikipedia, these early frames were all about convenience, accepting memory cards directly from digital cameras. And look at us now, AI-generated videos transforming our memories into cinematic experiences. The real magic, I believe, happened once we moved into the mid-2000s and beyond. It wasn't just about having a digital frame, it was about creating a smart, connected home experience. Innovations like Wi-Fi connectivity and integration with cloud services, as noted by ecommercetimes.com, have revolutionized how we interact with these frames. They're no longer just passive devices, they're dynamic storytellers. But what intrigues me most, Sophia, is how AI and tablet technology have turned these frames into portals of immersive memory experiences. Wouldn't you agree that this transformation has made cultural storytelling more universal and accessible? Speaking of trends, the market is really embracing this shift towards AI and smart features. The demand is driven by the increasing popularity of home automation, creating a seamless blend between technology and daily life. But beyond the technology, I'm curious, Sophia. How do you see these advancements influencing the way different cultures preserve and celebrate their stories?
Sí, Oliver. But here's what really gets me excited about this evolution. It's not just about the technology getting smarter, it's about our relationship with memory fundamentally changing. When I think about my abuela's home in Barcelona, she had this beautiful wall of framed photos. Static, unchanging, almost like a museum to her life. Each frame was carefully chosen, each photo a deliberate curatorial decision. But now we're talking about living memories. The research from Wikipedia shows how we went from those clunky memory card readers to AI-powered devices. But what they don't capture is the emotional shift from preservation to experience. And you mentioned cultural storytelling becoming more universal. Espera, I want to push back on that a bit. Yes, the technology is accessible, but I think what's really happening is more nuanced. According to research from PubMed, Americans and Chinese students actually compose photographs differently. Americans focus on individuals, while Chinese emphasize background and environment. That's cultural identity expressed through visual language. So when we're creating these AI-enhanced video memories at PhotoDeo, we're not making storytelling more universal. We're giving people tools to tell their specific cultural stories in more dynamic ways. A grandmother in Mumbai might use the same frame as one in Manchester, but the stories they're telling? Completely different, and that's the beauty of it. Here's what fascinates me from a creative director's perspective. Those early 2000s frames from Kodak and Seva that Wikipedia mentions? They were still asking people to think like photographers. What image do I want to display? But PhotoDeo and modern AI-enhanced frames are asking a completely different question. What feeling do I want to share? That's a massive psychological shift. We're not curating photos anymore, we're curating emotions. And that, mi amigo, is why this technology is so powerful for our senior users who want to share not just what their grandchildren look like, but what it feels like to watch them grow.
Part 2. The Rise of AI Photo Videos.
Oye, Oliver, here's where I need you to challenge me on something. We've been talking about this evolution from static photos to AI-enhanced videos like it's this beautiful, inevitable progression. But let's be honest for a moment. When PhotoDeo transforms a single photograph into a 30-second video with movement, music, and all that AI magic, are we actually enhancing the memory, or are we creating something new entirely? Because here's what keeps me up at night. My abuela's photograph of my grandfather. It's grainy, it's faded, it's completely still, but when I look at it, I provide the movement in my mind. I animate it with my memories and my imagination. So when we hand that creative power over to AI, are we enriching the storytelling, or are we making people passive consumers of their own memories? And here's the filmmaker in me coming out. Because I think about this through a director's lens. When I create a scene, I'm making deliberate choices about what moves, what stays still, when to add music, when to let silence speak. Those choices carry meaning. So when PhotoDeo's AI decides how to animate someone's wedding photo or their child's first steps, whose story are we telling? The person who lived that moment, or the algorithm that's interpreting it? I'm not saying I have the answer, Oliver, but I think we owe it to our users to be thoughtful about this. What's your take? As someone who lives and breathes storytelling, do you see AI as a collaborator in personal narrative, or as something else entirely? Because look, I've seen the magic happen. I've watched a grandmother receive a digital frame with PhotoDeo videos of her grandchildren, and the tears in her eyes were absolutely real. The emotion was authentic. But I want to understand the mechanism of that emotion. Is it because the AI captured something true about those children? Or is it because movement and music are just inherently more stimulating to our brains than static images? The research from Lapinco's photography tells us that looking at photographs triggers positive emotions and reduces stress. But what happens when we add AI animation into that equation? Do we amplify those benefits, or do we change the nature of the emotional experience entirely?
Sophia, that's a question that could keep philosophers busy for a lifetime. Are we enhancing memories or creating something entirely new? I suppose it depends on one's perspective. When PhotoDeo's AI breathes life into a static image, it's doing more than just animating pixels. It's adding a layer of narrative that was perhaps latent in the original photograph. It's not about replacing personal memories, but rather offering a new dimension to explore them. Imagine a painter adding a wash of colour to a sketch. The image isn't new, just deepened. That's a brilliant question, and here's why I believe AI can be a true collaborator in storytelling. You see, when you talk about directing a scene, it's about control, yes, but also about discovery. AI offers unexpected interpretations that might surprise even the most seasoned director. According to research from Lapinco's photography, looking at photographs can uplift mood and promote well-being. So, when AI adds movement and sound, it might amplify those effects, turning the passive into the participative. But here's a thought. Are we perhaps becoming conductors in a symphony of memory rather than passive listeners? Before I delve too deep into my own musings, let me turn the tables for a moment. You've seen those tears of joy when a grandmother views her AI-animated photographs. Do you think there's a difference in the emotional impact when those memories are presented with AI's touch versus the traditional static images? What does your filmmaker's intuition tell you?
Hi, Oliver. Look at you, turning my own questions back on me like some kind of philosophical judo master. All right, you want to know what my filmmaker's intuition tells me? Fine. But you're not going to like how complicated my answer is. Here's the truth. Yes, there is a difference in emotional impact, but it's not a simple better or worse equation. When I've watched people interact with PhotoDeo videos versus traditional frames, what I observe is this. The AI-animated versions create an immediate, visceral response. It's like the difference between reading about a symphony and actually hearing one. The static photo requires the viewer to do interpretive work, to animate it in their mind, to fill in the gaps. The AI video does some of that work for them, which means the emotional hit is faster, more intense, more accessible. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is the CMO in me talking now. Accessibility isn't always about dumbing things down. Sometimes it's about removing barriers that shouldn't have been there in the first place. Think about who our users are at PhotoDeo. We're talking about people in their 60s, 70s, 80s. Many of them didn't grow up with smartphones. They're not digital natives. For them, a static photograph on a digital frame might feel cold, technological, distant. But movement, music, that taps into something primal. It feels more alive, and maybe that aliveness helps bridge the gap between the digital medium and the emotional authenticity they're craving. And your conductor in a symphony metaphor? Chef's kiss. That's exactly it, Oliver. Because a conductor doesn't create the music. The composer did that. The musicians are playing it. But the conductor shapes how you experience it. The tempo, the dynamics, the emotional arc. Maybe that's what PhotoDeo's AI is doing. The memory is still yours. Your grandfather's smile, your daughter's wedding, your son's graduation. But the AI is conducting how that memory unfolds in time. It's adding rhythm and pacing to something that was frozen. You know what really gets me, though? When I watched that grandmother with her animated photos, what struck me wasn't just the tears. It was how she reached out to touch the screen. She wanted to physically connect with those moving images of her grandchildren. That gesture told me everything. The AI hadn't made her passive at all. If anything, it made her want to engage more, to reach across the digital divide and touch something that felt real and present and now. So maybe the question isn't whether AI enhances or replaces the memory. Maybe it's whether AI can make digital feel human again. And in that moment, watching her fingertips on that screen, I think it did.
Part 3. A perfect pairing. Digital frames and PhotoDeo.
Oye, Oliver, now we need to talk about the technical reality. And I promise, I'll try not to get too geeky on you. Though you know how I love the details. When exploring digital frames, it's important to note that not all are created equal, and that matters enormously for what we're trying to accomplish with PhotoDeo. Modern frames, especially those with LCD technology, are specifically designed for video playback with vivid brightness displays. But here's what I need you to help me explain to our readers. Why does this technical specification matter for the emotional experience? Because when I look at a digital frame displaying a PhotoDeo video, I'm not thinking, oh lovely, brightness levels. I'm thinking, that looks like a real photograph come to life. So how do we bridge that gap between the technical specs and the human experience? And here's where I want to be completely transparent with our readers, because this is important. Sometimes there is confusion. Some people think digital frames with older technologies like e-ink can display our videos. And while e-ink is beautiful for certain things, that paper-like quality is gorgeous for static art displays. But for PhotoDeo's AI-generated videos, we need LCD technology. We need those built-in speakers so you can hear the music, the ambient sound that makes the memory come alive. So here's my question for you, and I want you to be brutally honest, cariño. When we're recommending specific technology to our users, many of whom aren't tech-savvy, how do we communicate these technical requirements without making them feel overwhelmed or intimidated? Because the last thing I want is for someone to be excited about PhotoDeo, buy the wrong frame, and then feel frustrated or disappointed. You know what really impresses me about modern digital frames? It's the interactive features that respect the user's agency while keeping the interface simple. For instance, some frames allow you to tap once to engage more deeply with the video, offering a tactile connection to the memory. But here's what I'm curious about from your storytelling perspective. When someone has a PhotoDeo video playing on a digital frame and family comes to visit, and they tap to engage with the video, does that physical interaction, that deliberate choice to engage with the memory, make the storytelling moment more intentional? More sacred, even? Because in film, we talk about breaking the fourth wall, but here, we're asking viewers to literally touch the frame to complete the experience. That's a level of participation I find fascinating.
Ah, Sophia, you're quite the inquisitor today, aren't you? Bridging the gap between technical specs and emotional experience is a delightful conundrum. Here's the thing. When we talk about a frame's brightness or its ability to play video, what we're really discussing is its capacity to bring memories to life in a way that's vivid and immersive. These capabilities ensure that when a PhotoDeo video is displayed, it looks as vibrant and real as the day the memory was captured. The key is to communicate these features in terms of experiences rather than specs. For example, explaining that with LCD technology you can see your memories as if they were happening again could be more relatable to those who aren't tech-savvy. It's about creating a narrative around the experience rather than just listing technical specifications. And you've touched on something profoundly interesting about user interaction with the frame. It does indeed make the storytelling moment more intentional. When a viewer chooses to engage with the video, it becomes a conscious decision to connect more deeply with the memory. It's akin to turning a page in a cherished book or pressing play on an old record. By inviting viewers to participate actively, we're not just sharing a memory, we're inviting them to relive it. So, I'd turn the tables back to you, Sophia. How do you see this level of interaction influencing the way we share stories in the digital age?
Ay, Oliver, look at you, turning my own interrogation back on me. You're learning, cariño. All right, you want to know how I see this interaction influencing digital storytelling? Here's what keeps me up at night, in the best possible way. We're living through this absolutely fascinating paradox right now. On one hand, we're drowning in content, scrolling, swiping, consuming hundreds of images a day without really seeing any of them. But on the other hand, we're starving for genuine connection. And that touch interaction, that simple physical gesture of reaching out and touching the frame to engage with the video, it's a tiny act of rebellion against passive consumption. It's saying, I choose to be present for this moment. From a UX design perspective, this is gold. Because here's what I've learned in 20 years of creative work. The best interfaces disappear, but the best interactions create meaning. When you have to physically touch the frame to engage with your grandmother's animated photo, or to see the subtle movements in your daughter's wedding video, you're not just viewing content anymore. You're participating in a ritual. And rituals are how we make meaning, how we signal to ourselves and others that this matters. And here's where it gets really interesting for our audience specifically. Our users, many of them in their 60s, 70s, 80s, They remember a time when looking at photographs was always a deliberate act. You pulled out the album, you sat down together, you turned the pages. There was ceremony to it. Digital technology gave us convenience but stole that intentionality. But now, with that touch interaction, with the ability to control when the story comes alive visually, we're giving them back that sense of agency and ritual, but with all the magic of modern technology. You know what I think is really happening here? We're not just sharing stories in the digital age. We're redefining what it means to be present with our memories. And that physical touch? It's the bridge between the digital and the sacred. It's the difference between a video that autoplays while you scroll past it and a memory you consciously choose to enter into. That's powerful storytelling, Oliver. That's the kind of thing that makes me believe we're doing something that actually matters.
Part 4. Conclusion.
Ah, dear readers, as we draw our delightful conversation to a close, let's reflect on the synergy between digital photo frames and AI photo videos. It's a bit like pairing a fine wine with a sumptuous meal. Each enhances the other, creating an experience that is both richer and more satisfying. The magic of AI breathes life into our static memories, while digital frames serve as the perfect canvas, showcasing these living memories in vivid detail. This, I believe, is not just a technological advancement, but a revolution in how we connect with our past. Now, imagine gifting this experience, not just a frame, but a gateway to cherished memories brought to life. It's like giving someone a window into their most treasured moments, where they can see and feel the emotions anew. This is the perfect gift, whether for personal enjoyment or to share the joy with loved ones. But there's a delicate art to it, isn't there, Sophia? How do we prepare both the giver and the receiver for the emotional journey they're about to embark on? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how we can guide them through this beautiful, yet potentially overwhelming experience. And let's not forget the cultural nuances in how we display our memories. From my corner here in the UK, I've seen homes where photographs are curated with almost museum-like precision, while in other cultures, they're a vibrant, living tapestry of everyday life. How do you see this cultural perspective influencing the way we share these AI-enhanced memories, Sophia? Do jump in with your insights. I have a feeling you might have a few thoughts on the matter.
Oliver, you beautiful romantic. You've painted this gorgeous picture of wine and meals. But let me tell you what really happens in that moment when someone receives their first AI-enhanced memory. It's not gentle. It's visceral. I've seen it. The sharp intake of breath, the hand that flies to the mouth, sometimes tears before they even realize they're crying. This isn't just connecting with the past. This is time travel, cariño. And we need to prepare people for that emotional punch. Here's what I learned from our research. And this is crucial. According to Professor Jeff Beattie at the University of Manchester, displaying family photographs actually reinforces children's sense of belonging and self-esteem. Now imagine that power multiplied when those photos move, when you see your grandmother's smile again, when your father's hand waves at the camera. We're not just displaying memories, we're creating living archives of love. That's why the how of gifting this matters so much. The giver needs to curate that first video carefully, not the funniest moment or the most dramatic, the most tender one, the one that says, "You are loved and remembered." And your point about cultural differences? Ay, Oliver. You've touched something important here. In Barcelona, in my abuela's home, photographs weren't precious museum pieces. They were everywhere, layered, overlapping, alive with daily life. But I also saw what our research revealed. That study comparing American and Chinese students showed Americans focus on individuals, while Chinese emphasize the environment and context. This matters for AI video creation. Some cultures will want tight crops on faces, capturing every emotion. Others will want the whole scene, the kitchen, the garden, the context that makes the memory whole. PhotoDeo needs to understand this isn't one size fits all. We're not just selling technology, we're honoring how different cultures hold and share their stories.
Invitation to engage. We'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. Please use the Provide Feedback menu item in PhotoDeo to share your experiences or ask questions you'd like us to address in future posts. We look forward to continuing this conversation with you.